a lot of stuff. So, yeah, she's just getting ready to list her house and go through all that. So,
Oh, well, that's nice.
yeah.
She has you to help.
Yep. All of my siblings went. It was my brother's birthday weekend as well. So, good to see the family. Yeah.
Nice. Well, let's see. Do we have, it's 3, right? Are we 3 when we're a quorum? With our small but mighty group?
It is calculated that way. It's 7 regular members, which would make it 4, but because you're smaller, I think you're allowed to count only 3 as your quorum, which is unfortunate that you don't have more people because it would be helpful. And just as an aside, while we're waiting here, Allison, I think it was last week that Counselor Chandler indicated that she might be interested, or she is open to reconsidering her position at ADUs. So I found that to be very, very encouraging as something of an environmental initiative, but nonetheless, I was very encouraged that, and I know Natalie Johnson is very interested in ADUs. And so, you know, who knows what might happen.
That's excellent. That's good to know.
Thanks.
Did anybody see if Mary was trying to get in?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm a panelist person. Let me see if I can tell.
I don't see her name on the list waiting to get in
All right.
at the moment.
Okay.
All right. Reggie, just someone you had said you were going to invite, or?
Yeah, she was interested in checking it out.
Excellent. Well, hopefully she can join. You would send her the information, or she's aware.
Yeah, I sent her all the emails. And
Okay.
I think I attached you to something. One of them, I don't know.
Yeah, you mentioned that you were going to invite her, so. Okay, good.
Okay.
Well, we'll if she pops in, we'll definitely welcome her, and we'll just get going since you're here. Again, I haven't heard from Andy, but I did hear from Barb that she won't be able to make it. So, and I think she told us that last month. Good. All right. What's that?
He's in Iceland.
Yes, with Corrine, right? That's fun. So yay for her traveling away. So, all right. We'll call the meeting to order. We're at 6:09. And did everyone have a chance to review the minutes?
Yeah, are we going to do introductions?
We will, yes. I just wanted to run through that quick approval of minutes, and then yes, we need to do introductions of everyone. So anyone motion to approve the minutes, the April minutes? I know Abby wasn't here, so it was just me, Aaliyah, and Reggie.
I motion to approve the minutes.
I approve.
You second? And we all approve. Okay. We all approve. And Abby wasn't here, so she can't necessarily approve, right? Good. Okay. So yes, let's do some introductions, because we have our new planning, and we have Reggie, you weren't here earlier, someone that's helping us take the minutes. So I can start, and then we can just sort of, tag team or popcorn style who we see on the screen. So Allison Gerbig, I'm a resident, obviously, here of Manitou. I've been here 17 years, so have served on other boards, the Para board, and helped with Plan Manitou. And my husband, Mike, was on city council a few years ago, and not a few years, it's been a while now. My son was little then, and now he's giant. So I have one son who attends Manitou schools. He's 9th grade, and a dog, and we live in the area that's like called Crystal Valley, which is kind of by the city, like where they park the trucks on Terrace Place, just below the cemetery and the high school. So, and I was a regular member here since the inception, and just this term moved to chair, to the role of chair. All right, I will pass it to Aaliyah.
Hey, I'm Aaliyah German. I've also been on the HAB since its inception and have been chair a couple of times, and I'm now vice chair as Allison took over at the beginning of this year. And I live in Manitou with my son up on Agate Hill, and my husband and my 2 dogs, and have been, really grateful to be involved with this board for so many years. And I think we've made some, we're a small group and we're dwindling a little bit more, and we're hoping that we can grow again this year and get some more members. But we feel like we have learned quite a bit about housing and what we can and can't do in Manitou, and made some progress the past couple of years with a couple different initiatives. So looking forward to keeping that momentum. Regina.
I'm Regina, and I have been in Manitou over 40 years, and I have a dog and a cat, and I have been on HAB, I think 3 or 4 years, and learned a lot. Hannah.
Hi, everybody. My name's Hannah Van Den Boygen. I'm the new planning director. I came from City of Colorado Springs, where I was a senior city planner for about 8 years. So I was working on both long range initiatives and development review. And before that, I was working down in the Phoenix area where I grew up. It just got a little bit too hot for me. So here we are in Colorado. My husband and I, we don't live in Manitou. Hopefully we'll be able to migrate soon, but we're not too far away. We're on the west side in Colorado Springs. But so far, this is my 4th week, so I still have a lot to learn, and I'm still meeting a lot of people. But everything has been really interesting, and I've met a lot of great folks. So I look forward to continuing them. Let's go to Kelsey next.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Lanham. I'm the planning technician for the city of Manitou. I was actually born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. So I've been out in Colorado for about 5 years now. I attended UCCS, played soccer there all 4 years. I graduated last year with 2 business degrees, and I am now on my 2nd month here. Like Hannah said, learning a lot, meeting a lot of people. Manitou is very unique, I will say. I love the city and love how much, it's very different than Colorado Springs, and I love that about it. And then I think the last one's Abby, correct?
Yes, there might be
Abby and Nancy, I think.
Nancy. Hi, I'm Abby, and I just recently joined HAB. I think this is my 3rd meeting tonight, 3rd or 4th. And I've lived in Manitou for 7 years. I moved here right out of college. I went to DePaul University, where I studied environmental science. I worked for a nonprofit for the last 6 or so years in Manitou, and just recently got my real estate license. So I've been learning so much about that, and just wanted to kind of learn about local initiatives, which is why I joined HAB. Yeah, Nancy.
Okay, I'm Nancy Fortune. I'm the council liaison to HAB. I can't remember if I've been on for 2 or 4 years now, because 2 years, it just all runs together. And I cannot remember. So if any of you remember, let me know. And I've lived in Manitou now for about 13 years. I was in the Army for over 30 years. And I have a dog. That seems to be a common theme amongst most of you. And I have chickens and I live in Crystal Hills. And I just love it here. And I've learned so much on HAB, and I am so happy that all of you are willing to volunteer your time. So thanks for the good work you're doing.
Thank you. And we have we have one other member, Andy Wells, who's been I think he has like family lineage here from years ago. And he's just a good, like does like real property management and does a lot of volunteer work in our community, and is a big proponent of our accessory dwelling unit initiative that sort of keeps just getting pushed aside. And, it's still on the radar, but there's Andy, and then Barb Bunn is an alternate, and also, again, I think a longtime resident. She's a therapist, and just happy to have her insights as well. So we will keep trying to recruit more people, and excited, again, like Aaliyah said, for all the work we've done. I, kind of toyed around with leaving. I'm leaving HAB. And then I was like, I don't want to leave because I don't want to lose. We have done a lot of work, and I can stick with it. And then again, like we all said, keep trying to get more people. So we're thankful for Abby to have joined us, and, keep moving along. All right. I don't think we have any public, right? Mary, did Mary make it in? I don't see Mary, so hopefully she can join us, next time, or she can reach out with, to us, Regina, if she has questions, or, wants to join it maybe in our June meeting. So, and then I just wanted to focus this meeting on our old business, which Aaliyah presented last month, the energy efficiency program. So in our packet, there was a memo from Hannah, and then some other information, I think, that Aaliyah provided. So I don't know who wants to take the lead from here. Aaliyah, do you want to, or?
Hannah, maybe you can, do you want to present the memo, and which I think is great. So thank you for putting that together.
Yeah, absolutely. So I put together just a really quick, it's literally 3 slides, PowerPoint that just goes over what the memo says. And then at any point, feel free to interrupt me if you want to ask a question on my thought process, or if you have anything to add. I'm definitely a proponent of interrupting while I'm speaking, because because then I'm on the same train of thought. So don't feel bad if that's what you would like to do. Otherwise, we can always talk at the end. But just to make sure, I think I'm sharing the screen that has the slide presentation on it. Okay, I'm seeing some head nods. Great. So just for the record, this is about the HAB energy efficiency rebate program that we are proposing for the $10,000 budget that's currently in the 2022 budget. So we felt that we could focus on water efficiency and water conservation measures specifically, and specifically on installations of new fixtures and potentially xeric landscaping. So we could use this, or we could take a rebate and reimburse the public or residents specifically through the water bills. And we could administer this program through the planning department's existing PIP process, or property improvement permit process. We're proposing that we could kick off this program, if everything looks good to this group, in maybe mid to late June or early July. I know that's a pretty wide window, but we would just need to dial down exactly what we would need to do to kick everything off. Right now, I feel confident that if everything looked okay tonight, we could kick off probably mid-June would be my guess. We're also proposing 2 tiers, or 2 different types of reimbursements. So what we're just calling right now is tier 1, pretty uncreative, but gets the point across, is those really small fixtures that maybe are replacements of existing fixtures or new installations. This generally could be like a new shower head or a new faucet or a rain sensor or something that's relatively small. And those items would not require a building permit or any review through Pikes Peak Regional Building Department, and maybe wouldn't even come through our PIP process. And I say maybe because there's not really a defined set of parameters for the PIP process currently, that there's that mostly anything could technically require a PIP, but that is a little bit unreasonable whenever somebody just wants to change out their faucet, right? So, but just know any small fixture could come through this process and it would seamlessly fit in. So we're proposing with these tier 1 improvements that the reimbursement would cover the cost of the PIP and the use tax that's triggered by the PIP application, as well as a portion of the fixture. So I wanted to cover all 3 of those because then somebody who wanted to put in a rain sensor would have some level of assurance that they wouldn't be paying more money just to get a rebate that wouldn't be equal to the amount of money that they'd be paying to go through our process. So those would be those tier 1 improvements. Tier 2 would be those larger components where maybe a building permit is required and a PIP is definitely required. So that could be replacing a toilet. It could be installing a more efficient irrigation system. And I can't think of a third example, but that's a good start to a list. Those improvements would have to go through a PIP already. And so again, seamless integration. And we would propose that tier 2 improvements, we would cover at least a portion of the cost of the fixture. So because they'd already be required for sure to go through the PIP, we didn't think maybe it was totally necessary to waive the application costs and the use tax since they would already be required to pay those things. But for sure, still reimbursing the cost of the fixture. And we can definitely massage the differences between tier 1, tier 2, if we even like that idea. This is just my thoughts kind of going onto a piece of paper. Also, when it comes to landscaping, it's really dependent on the scope of the landscaping if a building permit's required. So if it's a whole new irrigation system, that's definitely within a tier 2 scope right now. But if it's installing or replacing turf grass with native grass, that might fit more in the tier 1. So we'd kind of have to use our professional judgment to figure out what level it fit in.
Hey, Hannah.
Yeah,
what,
absolutely.
what is the, so the use tax is a percentage on the order of 3% or something like that, right? And then what is the application fee for the PIP?
That's a great question. I might actually defer that question to Kelsey because she calculates those fees for me. And Kelsey, am I misremembering that there is an application fee for a PIP?
So the only time that there's an application fee is when there's like actual construction going on. So in this case, these types of PIPs would not have an application fee. So you would just be paying the use tax on it.
So would it just be triggered if there's, say, like a permit through regional building? Is that when an application fee would come into play?
So our application fees are usually if there's like some type of development going on. If say like you want to change like a shower or something, that would not require an application fee. It's only when, you know, you're changing structures inside or you have to tear a wall down, that would be considered as like major construction, so to speak. But in this case, I don't believe there would be an application fee to change or replace any of these fixtures.
Thanks, Kelsey. So I misspoke. It sounds like in either of these instances, there would not be a PIP application fee, but still the use tax. So
And
we would
what's the
be,
use tax? I'm sorry. What's the amount?
I believe it's around 3%. Kelsey, I know you look at that number all
Yep.
the time.
So it's 3.8% of the materials, not including labor costs when you install them. And then say, if you're building a new residence, then I believe it's 83 cents per square foot of that new house.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So in this case, it would be
The
the 3.8.
Correct.
So we are proposing several methods to get the word out there about this program. We thought that a reoccurring ad in the Pikes Peak Bulletin, maybe every few weeks or maybe weekly, we're still pulling what those costs would look like. Potentially, we could send out program notices in individuals' water bills, but we're still looking into the feasibility of that. We definitely could print out some flyers that we could hang or post up in some community gathering areas like the business or the Chamber of Commerce, in City Hall, obviously, maybe the library, places like that, as well as maybe bi-weekly notices through the city's social media platforms. We're also proposing that about 2 months into kicking off this program, or this program going through its process, is we would have a formal evaluation with this group just to make sure we're on track to spending the entire $10,000 within our budget window. So that would actually fall generally in September, late August, September timeframe. If it doesn't look like we're on track to spending that amount of money, then we could relook at a couple of things to make sure we're casting a wider net. We could relook at, or we could potentially open up retroactively. So if somebody had installed a water conserving fixture or something along those lines in the previous year or a couple of years, then we could say you can come in now, get a PIP for it, and get reimbursed for that cost, as long as you could like pull a receipt or something like that. We also could broaden the list of eligible installations, and maybe we could expand or adjust how we're advertising the program. So that was all that I had, but I did go ahead and put Aaliyah's tables in this PowerPoint in case you wanted to talk about some of those. I also can pull up the City of Thornton and Aurora examples if you need a quick reference or anything like that. But that is what we as staff are proposing, how we can administer and spend $10,000.
Yeah, that's awesome, Hannah. Thanks so much for this. So as some background, I met with Hannah and other city staff 2-3 weeks ago, right, to kind of talk through this. And Hannah had already sat down with her group and had brainstormed a little bit on some of these ideas. And so I really appreciate you kind of diving right into this and putting out some ideas that are really implementable. I think what you proposed generally sounds really good. I like your idea of the check-in in September to kind of see where we're at and maybe reevaluate if we want to make any changes. I wanted to point out, we do have $2,000 in our budget specifically for marketing. So we can definitely use that. We had developed a flyer for the energy efficiency program. And so depending on, it will need quite a bit of revamping depending on how we restructure this, but we could use that as a starting point from the flyer's perspective. I think probably there's a couple next things to talk about. One is how much we want to give for a rebate. But I think maybe before we get into that specificity, it's, do we want to, what you've proposed is focusing solely on water efficiency rebates. And I think that we know that that's an important priority. It's not covered by CSU doesn't provide Manitou residents with incentives, right, for water efficiency, because they don't service water. Manitou does. So there's a gap there. And we know we're in a dire need to save water right now. I also might propose that we couple this with efficiency rebates as well. But I'd like to hear feedback from the other board members. There's some benefits of just focusing on water efficiency. It's going to be, I think, more straightforward for staff to implement. So you'll need to weigh in on that as well, Hannah. The benefit of broadening it is capturing more applicants, maybe having a better chance of spending all of our money, and kind of serving some of that initial need and initial goal that we had identified with the energy efficiency program. What do others think about kind of what we should focus on, what we should provide rebates on?
Abby, any thoughts? I know you weren't with us last month, but what do you think?
Yeah, this is the first I've heard of the water rebate program, but to me, it sounds really good. I think that water is like gold in Colorado. I think increasingly it's going to become more and more of a currency here. So whatever we can do to incentivize here in Manitou, I think is important.
And then Reggie, I know you were there last month and we talked about like additional things like, I mean, I see some things listed, but we had talked about what water heater and some other things. What are your thoughts on having additional things besides the water?
I think it's a good point that, if it means that we have a better chance of spending the 10,000, then we should do it. And water heaters are pretty expensive. So people may want to do that.
Hannah, would there be a reason, or would that make it more difficult if we had? I mean, I know on the sheet that Aaliyah put together and you shared, I wasn't sure if the things that were listed there, those 4 items, were the things that the city could support, or if, again, Aaliyah, if we were looking for other things.
Right. So we did kind of talk about this when we first sat down a few weeks ago. And at the time, there was discussion about not wanting to be super competitive with the incentives that Colorado Springs Utilities is already working on. But if that's the direction from the board, I think that we can definitely take it and run with it. I think our main overarching goal is to spend the money. And if we think we have a better shot at doing that using or broadening that net to all efficient water, electric efficiency systems or whatever that is, then I think we'd be open to that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was, Denise had a concern that we would, we'd be providing incentives on something that residents could already get incentives for. But as Regina pointed out, the CSU incentive is a small amount, and doubling down on that is only going to be more helpful for our residents to hopefully make a decision to do a smart upgrade. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something else. Nancy.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that on the water heater thing, I think that whereas it's electric or gas, it definitely saves water if you've got a good water heater, because I know it takes me forever to get my upstairs water hot and I need to replace it. So in terms of the theme of water efficiency or water conservation, I think the water heater definitely fits in with that as well.
Yeah, and actually it's more about your distribution system and your pipe insulation and how long those runs are, that just replacing the equipment isn't necessarily going to save you water or get you hot water more quickly.
That's a great point. Yeah. I was spoiled when I lived in Panama because I had an on-demand water heater and it was wonderful, but it was a short distance. So
yeah, great. Yeah. Yeah. And those are things that are hard to address in existing buildings. You know, pipes are inaccessible, they've already been run, et cetera. So, well, let me, here, I can just share my screen, this sheet if I can, or maybe I can't. I can share.
Can you make her presenter? I don't know.
No, I got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you see the sheet?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, on the, so, you know, one thing that CSU has done is prioritize electric upgrades because of the very high greenhouse gas emission savings that you get from going from a gas appliance to an electric. That being said, the majority of replacements are gas furnaces and gas water heaters, right? And they provide incentives for both. The costs are just much smaller for the gas side than the electric side. So I am on the electrification bandwagon and see our community and CSU eventually moving towards low greenhouse gas electricity production, and think it's an important thing to incentivize. But I'm open to, you know, we can add gas options to this table as well. Regina, you might have an opinion on that.
Nah, I don't. No on the gas. No, because I mean, the whole point is going green, and we don't want to. I mean, if you have a gas one, do you have to replace it with gas?
No.
Okay, yeah, so then no.
Yeah.
That's my vote.
Yeah, I would agree if that's the, and I know, doesn't Manitou, don't we have an environmental plan and in Plan Manitou around that?
Plan. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does Hannah, do you see, so these, so I think from this side and from the water side too, as we talked about in our meeting, we can really kind of leverage the eligibility requirements from CSU. Do you think that we should have a requirement if we do have electricity and gas efficiency rebates? Should we have a requirement that they also apply for rebates through CSU so that we could kind of use the eligibility verification that CSU has done to, I guess, lessen your load a little bit, or might that just complicate it more?
That's a good thing to ponder on. So it would also decrease that concern of creating competition if we were to say, all right, in order to be eligible for our rebate program, you have to also seek a rebate from Colorado Springs Utilities. As far as the eligibility requirements, I see the bar for entry to our program as being pretty low, as just going through the PIP process. So I don't think that, I'm not sure what CSU's eligibility parameters are, but unless you guys feel strongly, I don't think that we would necessarily need to have a strict set of eligibility requirements other than going through our PIP process, which is pretty, as far as in the grand scheme of how complicated city planning applications can get, it's really minimal. So I think that as long as they were to move forward with our PIP, which is not that intensive, and but require some type of verification that they did seek some type of rebate through CSU that they were eligible for, I think that would be sufficient for us. But I do like that idea of saying, in order to go through us, you also have to consider going through CSU.
Okay.
Well, it says, I can't see the whole graph, but it doesn't look like CSU has a rebate for water pumps.
Can you guys, you can't see this the entire table?
No, because people are in the way.
Oh, can you change your view? I can,
Ooh,
I
Steve.
see it, but I don't, let me see.
Yeah, I think you
Okay.
can move where.
Yeah, I'll
they-
change the view.
Okay.
Yeah, they do have rebates for all of these. So in
Oh,
CSU's
I see it.
eligibility
Okay.
is pretty, it's really just verifying the product. So it's product eligibility. So it's nothing, nothing other than you're a customer, but I was thinking more just on the product side, or, a receipt from a contractor that this was installed, et cetera. So there's that verification process, but it's not too onerous for, I think, any of these items.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize that their eligibility was really just product verification. That would make it really easy on us if we were to just see that they applied and got some level of rebate through CSU. It'd be a really quick, almost sign off through us
Yeah,
So-
okay. Well, let's
for this rebate component.
think about that more then, yeah, because that would be great. If you just see that CSU approved them for this rebate, then they're good to go.
And Aaliyah, you had shared that last month, right? Their process, was that in the packet or?
I believe their application was in the packet. I'm not sure. They also have a 2 to 3 page program requirement document, and it's pretty, it's 2 to 3 pages that covers all of their rebates, water and energy. So it's pretty, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
So I guess have people had a chance to look at these costs, and what do people think about these proposed values? Or I think it's great that we'll check in September and kind of see how things are going, and we could readjust incentives. I think also kind of starting with both water and energy, maybe through this year we can see where the greatest demand was, and then check up next year and make some revisions. But some of this is kind of, I really just relied on matching CSU rebates in a lot of cases, not really knowing exactly how much demand there'll be and where we might want to prioritize rebates. The one that I added 2 here that CSU doesn't have. So they have a rebate for an ultra high efficiency toilet, which is a very low gallons per flush toilet. But there's also high efficiency toilets out there that are WaterSense certified, that if we want to kind of expand our reach, there's a number of other products that they give rebates for that are WaterSense certified. So that would be a way to kind of, you can offer a lower incentive and capture, help more people replace their toilets. And then what Denise brought up is drought tolerant landscaping. And I think this probably would be the most challenging in enforcing and verifying the eligibility for staff. But I think it's a great idea. And so that's what the other 2 programs, the City of Thornton and Aurora, that I included. One is kind of brief and one is very detailed in terms of how they implement their program. But it's certainly a really great thing to incentivize. And there are structures out there and precedent that we can follow.
I think it's a really good idea if we can, if it's possible for us to do it, like it's going to be not require a lot of time from staff. I mean, I would rather have as much as possible in this program up front than not. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's good feedback.
I just had a thought. What if we were to say for some of these where maybe it makes more sense, say a remainder of the cost after CSU rebate not to exceed like $50 for some of these. I guess, so let's say that there's a someone's installing a smart irrigation controller that costs $75.
Mhm.
Would we want them to make money off of this improvement, or just have the costs nullified?
Generally, my thinking was to just have the cost nullified, but it's a good question. There's different ways of thinking about it. And you know how CSU's program works, and most programs work, is there's a rebate amount, but it can't exceed the cost, whatever you pay. So it does limit it at that value. And
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with these products, so I don't know how much a smart irrigation controller costs.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, I don't either, so I was gonna ask, like, if we were gonna define those, in the document.
Yes, yeah. In terms of what you need to do to, what type of equipment you need to install to get that rebate.
Yeah, what it is.
Yeah. And again, for most of these, we can largely just follow CSU's program. It seems, reading through it, it seems pretty decent and well organized, and they have product lists for a number of these. And some of these are like WaterSense. It's really easy to find whether a product is WaterSense. I mean, they market it, the manufacturer markets it, and there's also a WaterSense directory that you can go to. So that's super easy. And then, CSU has done the legwork on some of these others and created a certified list. So especially since we're, Tana's putting together this program in a short turnaround for implementation this year, the more we can kind of leverage those existing data streams, the better.
I just looked up smart irrigation controller, and they run anywhere between about $70 up to going on $200, most in the $100 to $150 range.
Thanks.
And that was for what, Nancy? Oh, you're on mute.
You're on
I
mute.
think you're on mute, Nancy.
Yeah, basically they're like a Rainbird irrigation controller. You can create zones in your yard and water things at different times.
And what was the price? I'm sorry.
Anywhere from about $70 up to $200, with most in the about $120 to $150 range.
Okay.
That's just
And
a quick Google search. So
okay. And that was a smart irrigation controller. Is that what you were saying? Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. I mean, the figures, I don't know if, I mean, I guess if they got both rebates, they'd get almost half off, right? But
Well, they wouldn't, for the water, they wouldn't get a CSU rebate.
oh, yes, that's right. Because
Yeah,
yes.
so this is
Okay.
just informational here, just to kind of show that, basically show that this column is based on the CSU rebate.
Based on CSU. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then it's on the energy, the other, that's where they could get both.
Yeah, they would get both, but these costs are way below system costs. So they are not going to exceed the cost of the installation for these rebates, these systems.
Okay. So where are we? Are we now like to the point we just need to think about numbers and additional rebates? Is that what we're exploring now?
Yeah, if these numbers seem reasonable, if we want to talk about different numbers for certain cases, and these can change as we develop this too, but it'd be good to get a good starting point.
Yeah, I like the idea that we just match it for right now. And then as we go forward, we can see how it develops.
Aaliyah, thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah, I think that makes sense. Oh, so for here, I did put some different numbers here, and I'll give you some justification. Insulating your home is one of the best things that you can do to reduce your energy use over time. You replace your equipment will last for 15 years, right? It may be more efficient, but it's not going to improve your drafts. It's not going to improve your heat loss through your walls. It is not cheap, and $200 from CSU is like piddly. And so adding $400 to that is not going to come to the total cost of the project. And I think could be really helpful to some people that go that route. Most people don't. And so I think encouragement to people that actually do make the effort to insulate their homes is awesome. The air source heat pump, $1,000 from CSU is awesome. I'm looking to get a heat pump right now, and I'm excited to apply for this rebate. And but I didn't want to, we only have a $10,000, so I thought that might be one where we cut it down a little bit. So that was my logic for not matching for these three.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. And it I haven't looked at the CSU like website, but I looked at is it Aurora or what was attached to the packet?
Mhm.
And I like sort of, they talk about some like give, just like what you were just doing, Aaliyah, like talking about, putting insulation in your house is one of the best ways, like giving people an idea of, well, if I were to pick one of these, what would I do? Or if I were to do, what's one of these things that I could do that would improve, energy in my home.
Right. Yeah.
I think that, oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
I was just going to say the numbers seem fine to me, matching the water and then having that additional incentive that you mentioned sounds good to me.
So on the PIP and the use tax, what you proposed, Hannah, is covering that fully for some upgrades and not for others. What does the board think about that? I mean, we could also we could cover all of the PIP for the water upgrades, because I think most of these are probably not going through a PIP process generally. I think most people, I didn't know that these type of items are required to go through a PIP. And I assume most people don't. So one thought is we just cover it for all the water upgrades, and we could for the energy upgrades too, or not. That could kind of be more of a tier two thing, because those are bigger projects.
Yeah, if I can add, I like that idea. Maybe the tier 1, tier 2 isn't necessarily the intensity of the installation, but it's water and electric. So we can cover all of the use tax for anything water related, any PIP water related, and then not have that for the electric component. And again, at that 2-month mark, if we're not on pace to spending all $10,000, we can reassess too.
Yeah, what do people think about that?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Did I understand? Oh, so it's just it's that 3.8%. That's what you're saying, that fee would be.
The CSU have a fee for rebates? I don't think they do.
It's not a rebate fee. It's separate. It's the Manitou's PIP, performance improvement permit, right? Did I get it right? Property improvement permit.
Right, but I mean, for the person, they're gonna think of it in those terms, like, I'm applying for a rebate and I have to pay for the application.
There's no application fee. And if they apply for the rebate, they don't have to pay the tax if it's a water efficiency measure is what the proposal is.
Okay, so they don't have to pay anything.
Correct
Okay.
on those things.
Okay,
Where typically you would. And I think that was, Hannah was saying that earlier, that it was important to look at that because, why bother if you have to, just like you said, Regina, if you're ever going to have to pay all these fees, why bother?
right.
So for the water, you're saying the proposal would be to include or waive, or what would that look like?
It would be paid from our $10,000.
I see. Okay. So that's like, that would happen, and then the person would then get the rebate just as. So who does it get paid to then? Is that odd that we're giving money back to, we're giving city money back to the city?
Right. So I'll have to talk to our finance people, but we could probably do it 2 different ways. And I'll need to get their input on what maybe would be best. But we could do it where we say, all right, you have to pay this upfront, this use tax upfront, and then you get rebated on the back end through your water bill, like as a credit. Or that we would bill the city the use tax. And I kind of think that might get a little hairy, but I don't do the budgeting. So I'll have to ask, I'll have to follow up with you on which way would be their preference, which I'm happy to do.
Okay. Perfect.
And if we can do it where the applicant doesn't have to pay out of pocket, I think that would be preferred if that works with finance, because that might just be a little more incentive for people.
And then what would it look like if, I mean, I know Abby's a renter, so we always appreciate her insight. And I'm assuming, Abby, you probably, the water bill is in your name, or maybe not. Like if it is in the name of the renter and the landlord, is
It is in our
doing
situation.
these. What's
Yeah.
that?
It is in our situation. We have the water bill in our name. I know it's not always like that. Sometimes, like in multifamilies, it will be like in the landlord's name and it's just part of rent. So I can't say for everyone, but just in my situation,
Okay.
that would be true.
So I assume like that would just be case by case, how the landlord would want to, because the incentive would go to, if I was Abby's landlord and I did all this work, the incentive rebate would go on her bill.
Right, and there may be a requirement as part of the PIP process that the property owner is the applicant or a party to the application. So if the tenant was making the improvement, they may need to bring their landlord into it. But a landlord could apply for all this, but then they would need to understand that the rebates coming through on a water bill to the address. So they would have to work that out with their tenant.
Yeah,
at that point.
yeah, that was the part I was saying. And I guess
Right.
that's just, we would just have to explain that.
Right. And I can think a little bit more on that particular instance, if there would be another mechanism that maybe we could use. So I'll write that down as a potential follow-up.
Okay. Excellent.
And there are also, I could see scenarios with, some of these are, if they're irrigation related. I know renters who developed their landscaping, have lived at a place for a while and they are building a garden. They're, they're usually not laying irrigation pipe underground, but they could be planting drought tolerant plants and redoing a landscape if they're expecting to stay there for a while. So we could have 2 situations where a renter is actually improving their property, or the landlord is improving the property that they have a renter on. With the energy stuff, that's all going to be owner done.
So yeah, that would just be the only thing. And I know, like, when we met last month, Denise was saying, yeah, the easiest, more efficient process is, sorry, my dog's barking, is to credit the water bill. But again, if me, the landlord, is doing the improvements and then, water bill is in Abby's name, I would just have to work with her, I guess, to figure out how we capture that rebate. I don't know. Maybe I'm making too much into it, but
I'm losing internet connection. I don't know if you guys can see me, but when you guys talk,
Yeah.
it gets really lagged.
Oh, we can see you and hear you. Well,
Okay, must just be me.
okay. Did you miss anything that was
The last like 2 or so minutes, it just froze.
okay? We were just talking about, like, again, if the water bill is in your name, as the tenant, and if, say, me as the landlord wanted to do all of this, the rebate would go on your bill, not mine. And Hannah was going to look into if there was a different method for that landlord capturing the rebate if their name isn't on the water bill.
Definitely. So title agencies I know have all of the homeowner information, including like the landlord mailing address. And usually if they have a different address, then it's tenant occupied. So I know that's one way to tell. Yeah, just from my experience.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks.
Mhm.
All right, so where are we? It's okay, 7:03, right? Or 8, I can't quite see that, but I need reading glasses. I'm realizing in my age, I'm like, what does that say? All right, sign
Hannah,
up.
did you have any other discussion items that you wanted to bring up or make sure we talk through?
No, I did not. About this program. I have a couple of updates when we get there.
So I guess I don't know if we want to just make a motion, to move, like, where are we now? Are we in the place where we make a motion to, like, approve at least what's presented, and then next month we go through any other, like, details before it gets sent off to council?
This probably won't need to go to council. I think that this
Okay.
can be, if staff has the capacity to implement, then I would recommend that you not at this point take it to council. I would recommend that you have solid evaluation criteria that you develop up front so that you can tell if how successful the program is or is not. But if Hannah's looking at a June, July implementation date, yeah, you should, kind of give her the general guidance tonight via a motion of what you want to do.
Okay. And so do we probably need to meet again next month to make sure we have, like, the application process in place? Right? Because is tonight, I mean, we have the basics, right? We know with the memo how we're proposing with the 2 tiers and the amounts, and that we have our own budget, so we don't need to do the 10,000. And the things that Hannah was going to check on are the what did we ask her?
So I have 2 follow-ups. So one of them is, if we have a tenant landlord situation, how would it play out with either or being the applicant or either or being on the water bill? And what other mechanisms might we have if there's a landlord who makes a bunch of improvements, but the tenant is has the name on the water bill?
Okay, yes.
So that's one of them. And the other one is, I'm gonna double check on the 2 potential options to rebate the use tax. And I'm gonna check with our finance department on that.
Okay.
Also, I think Councilor Fortune had a great bit of insight there. I'll also come up with a set of evaluation criteria for what would be a successful implementation of this program, so that we can measure if we accomplish that or not.
Okay.
And maybe some learning, some lessons learned at the end of the year, or if we just didn't have enough time, or what that might be.
Okay. And then what do we need to do then for the application process? Are we saying it's just the regular, it's that PIP? That's the application?
Right. So as far as our internal process, we would need to make a small modification to our PIP application. And that would include adjusting some of the spacing, obviously, so we can fit more words on the paper. But a small portion of that form would be dedicated to us sending information over to our finance division for them to rebate on a water bill. So for most cases, I would assume where it's a property owner coming in for their property, it would be a simple adjust the form. And now we're going to add a step into our process, get it over to finance so they can credit the water bill through your budget line.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then the energy piece, we're requiring the PIP and something from CSU. Did we say that or not? Aaliyah, do you remember?
Yeah, that was the thought. If we require that they also applied for the CSU rebate, and then they provided validation that that rebate was granted from CSU, that could be kind of a, thumbs up for the city to know, okay, this is ready to issue an incentive based on that CSU data.
Excellent. And let's see, I guess, did we have, I'm just looking here to see what other energy, if we had anything else that we needed to, the like drought tolerant landscaping, what do we need to flush that process out a little bit more, or do we feel like, I mean, not tonight, but we could work on that for our June meeting. I just want to ask if we know if we're going to follow like the Aurora thing, or did that come from CSU, and do they have a process?
Could I
Yes.
make a recommendation? And this is in complete contradiction with what Regina suggested, but I think you might want to consider this as a pilot program, and not go too big, too fast, especially when you're looking to implement quickly. So it's totally up to you guys. But some of the more complicated one, like the drought resistant landscaping, I think is an outstanding idea, but I think that that's going to be really a lot more difficult to flesh out. So just.
Well, here's a thought. I mean, what if we could add incentives line items to this program as we move forward. What if we, these other items are going to be much more straightforward to I think put together an implementation plan. And you're right, the drought tolerant landscaping is not. So what if we, aim for, fall, yeah, I guess probably not many people are going to be doing that in the fall, maybe. But we could aim for a couple months out from when the initial program is June, July, and we'll be working on this drought tolerant landscaping incentive. And when it's ready, we layer it on. What do you think?
Yeah, phase it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, because I don't want to halt it. I don't want to wait on us developing this and being able to roll it out. So I like that idea. Anyone else comment?
I like it as well. I think it could be cool if we worked with more like environmentalist farmers, people who know the natural landscape, who could help us implement like more natural plants to prevent erosion, and kind of get our landscapes back to, if if we're doing xeriscaping or drought resistant landscaping, to at least like try to make it as natural as possible.
Well,
Yeah.
CSU has that whole thing up on Mesa.
Yep.
Mesa Road.
Mhm.
So I'm sure they'd be happy to help.
That
And
would
we
be,
have Becky Elder too.
Yeah.
yeah, Becky's great. I was
With
actually
Becky.
thinking of Blue Planet.
Yeah,
people and
yeah.
Becky.
Yeah, we have a lot of great resources local. And then, yeah, like you said, Regina, that's another. So yeah, why don't we then, I guess, make a motion to what? Let me see how I craft this motion.
Is it
Anyone
to-
wanna
Well,
help me?
it sounds to me like we still need more information. You know, the things that Hannah is going to be working on. So, it doesn't sound like it's ready for a vote until next month.
I
mean,
just
I
wasn't
think-
sure if we needed to make a motion for her to continue working those things. Do we or not?
Nancy will chime in.
I was just gonna say, you could just provide guidance tonight. I think that's fine until you get a more
Okay.
solid defined thing to make a motion. I think Regina's correct there.
Awesome. Thank you all. Good. Well, then it sounds like we can move on unless someone needs a recap.
Well, one more question I had, Hannah, is what support can I provide? Because I am happy to provide some support in helping pull some of this together. So I want to be a resource.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me get a little bit more info on those two takeaways. I think right now, determining, which I think maybe we did tonight, at least for this first phase, the costs that we're willing to reimburse for what specific improvements. I don't know if there's more research that needs to be done on if there's any other common water saving installations that we should consider, or if that's a pretty comprehensive list. I haven't looked into that yet. So if we want to do that, that would be super helpful. And then, of course, developing that potential plant schedule for drought tolerant plants or xeriscaping or something like that.
Mhm.
That would
Yeah.
also be extremely helpful.
Yep. And you could also support with kind of putting together, based on the measures that we have, the program requirements in terms of the specific widgets and what would be necessary to, what do you have to buy to be able to be eligible for this, et cetera. And yeah, I did think about, are there other measures that we want to add? We added the other toilet tier. We have the shower head program already in Manitou, so didn't add that. I considered faucets, and that's something we could add. Could add faucets, low flow faucets.
I say we add everything so that we can capture as many things as we can to spend the money.
Well,
That's my 2 cents anyway.
Okay. 'Cause I think we can use the water sense certification as well for faucets, which makes that easy. Great.
Good. And then, yeah, we can, I mean, I might be speaking out of turn, but maybe Abby and some others, we have some, you mentioned reaching out to some people later, not today, but about the, environmental plans and those type of things. So, and do they already have a group to do in Manitou? Do we have a,
Yeah, there's a climate action working group.
okay. So that might be good to reach out. One of us can reach out to them as well.
I could reach out to Becky. I know she already does she owns Blue Planet, which is like a co-op landscaping group, but they do the planters in town. So maybe she could just be an additional resource to the community.
Yeah, she'd be great. She used to be that's Nancy before you. It was Becky was our liaison.
Yep, I remember.
And she is my neighbor. We share a back fence, but So anyway, yes, awesome. Okay. So we're good to move forward. Hannah's got her list. Aaliyah, are you gonna just send things, or do all of us, do we need to all do anything else with the water?
I don't think so. Yeah, I'll look into the faucet piece and, coordinate with you, Hannah, on some of the next steps, working on putting together the product requirements.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much for your work on this. It's like
Yeah,
Aaliyah said, we were like, you were right on it. So I appreciate
this is a breath of fresh air to have a new planning director and have you jump right in. So really appreciate it.
So thank you. All right. Does anyone have any last things, or we'll move on to our next items? Nope. All right. Moving on then, reports, city council liaison, Nancy.
Sure. We're having a budget retreat on the 12th of June. It's a Sunday. Love those Sunday all-day meetings. The biggest thing we amended in the budget was to pull out and create a parking enterprise fund. So all the fund, all your parking fees that you pay will go into the enterprise, and it will be used solely for mobility and parking expenses and to improve parking and mobility within the city. So as most of you know, parking continues to be our probably most frustrating and issue, and that we do an awful lot of work on. Last night, Hiawatha Gardens was restored to the historic district. So that was interesting. We worked on a busker ordinance. So there's been a lot of, many of you are probably aware that there's been a lot of concern about the ability of folks, musicians, to play on the street. So we'll have a second reading, I think next week or the week after. Something that you got, someone on this, you are the type of people that would be interested in this, given your professions. We signed an opioid agreement, a regional opioid agreement. There was a lot of funds that came out of the Johnson & Johnson, I think, lawsuit. So they're going to be a regional group set up. I think it's El Paso and Teller County, and there'll be a strategic working group to look at how to execute those funds. It will be a lot of work. Whoever is assigned, right now it's probably going to be a staff person, but there's a possibility that we'll go out to the community to ask somebody. So if that's of interest to somebody, but I'll tell you, it's going to be roll up your sleeves and work hard on that. But it's so important right now. So another thing we're working on strengthening our open fire ordinance. So right now the controversy goes over to let people smoke outdoors and not to let people smoke outdoors. That's not been resolved. In level 1 and level 2 fire restrictions. And very pertinent to what you've been discussing, we're looking at who has the authority to implement water restrictions, what level of water restrictions, whether it has to go to city council to implement, or whether staff and with city administrator can do that on an emergency basis. Another very interesting thing is that we're looking at transferring the AMR, the emergency medical transport, from AMR, which is also a regional asset or regional use right now, to going back and having our own emergency medical transport just in Manitou. So that's, if we do go to that, it's going to be huge, 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 huge. And also very expensive to start up, but I think probably ultimately good for Manitou. And then we looked at a micromobility, updating our micromobility ordinance. So getting people out there walking and biking and so on, more as a form of transportation than just using cars all the time. So that's just a whole bunch of laundry list of things that council's been working on the past month or so. Any questions for me?
Yes, I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Has there been any discussion about the 911 going to Manitou instead of the sheriff's department or contacting the police. Because
It's-
right now the system is if you have an emergency, you're waiting for a police officer to give you a call.
Yeah, have you had personal experience?
Yes, numerous times.
Okay, if you could put them into an email specific instances, because we do hear anecdotal data of that, but that's another thing. El Paso, we partner with El Paso County through their dispatch center. And I don't know if you've ever been down there, but to recreate that in Manitou again to the same level of service as we have with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office would be astronomically high. But we look at it about yearly, and we do hear anecdotally, but a lot of times the anecdotal stuff is second and third hand or from 5-10 years ago. So if you've got specific instances and examples that you can document, that would be very helpful.
So, okay. And then my other question is the budget. Is there going to be a line item on fixing residential roads, not just the Manitou Tourist Road?
Yeah, in fact, that's already exists. That's part of our capital improvement plan. There's a 10-year plan. All the roads in Manitou are listed on it, and you can actually go in and see when specific roads, what years specific roads are planned for maintenance. Now, that's not a perfect system because sometimes something bad will happen on a particular road and they have to go in and move it up. But they are, I believe that they've accelerated a little bit. But if you have a specific road that you want to know where it is, we can find that out for you. We can go to the plan and find that out when it's due for repaving.
So it would be going to the planning
No,
site?
that's Public Works.
Yeah, Public Works. So I would go to Public Works.
Yeah, you could just send Denise Howell an email and ask her if you've got a specific road that you're curious about, and she could let you know when that is scheduled for maintenance.
Okay, thanks.
But there's a 10-year plan for every single road in Manitou.
Well, that's
And
progress.
it's budgeted.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Any other questions?
I don't.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right, Hannah, staff.
Great, thank you. So just a couple of quick updates. I'm still kind of new, so I'm still figuring out some things, but the code update being one of the big things that we're working on. So right now, I would say we are nearing the home stretch. I don't think that we're in the home stretch yet, but we are meeting every Monday with the code committee to work on different chapters to make sure everybody has a relatively as close to consensus as we can. It's impossible to make 100% of everybody happy on everything, but I do feel really positive about what we've talked about so far, and we are wrapping up first review of most chapters, and I'm excited to bring it forward to the different groups and committees when we get to a solid place. Right now, we're targeting having a series of open houses, probably late July, and bringing it forward to City Planning Commission and City Council late July to mid-August is our target right now. That could be extended just as a heads up, but at this point, if everything stays on track, we should be able to hit those deadlines. So that's the big update. We are also interviewing a senior planner on Friday, and I feel pretty confidently about that. So we're gonna cross our fingers, everybody. And so that senior planner, when we hopefully bring this person online, I would definitely have them attend housing advisory board meetings as well as all the board meetings so that everybody can meet this person and Then right now, Dylan Becker, who I think everybody has met before, maybe, he's the planner 2 for our office. He's on paternity leave for the next 4 weeks or 5 weeks. So right now, our department consists of me and Kelsey to run it. And that's a big undertaking, but so far we're able to, or everything's going okay so far. So if emails take a little bit longer to get a response to, that's why. But other than that, I don't think I have any other updates. I know that just based on the conversation before the meeting officially opened, that you're interested in having conversations about accessory dwelling units, which is really convenient because I authored the ADU code for City of Colorado Springs. So I'm happy to help bring some ideas to the table, or I don't know, help facilitate that discussion when we get to that point. So just let me know if you want to pick that up, and we can just start having preliminary talks or whatever that would look like. So please don't hesitate to call me or to email me or reach out to me if anything comes up and you have any questions about anything going on in the city, especially if it's related to planning. But it was great to meet everybody today, so thank you.
Thank you. We're very excited to have you here. And we've been working the ADU like conversation since the beginning, like I mentioned, and it's just the change of planning staff that
Yeah.
has been our, we'll start working and get all momentum and then it changes. So we have some things, and I'm grateful that you have experience, and we'll hold off a little. We'll get through this energy efficiency thing, but yeah, that's definitely conversation we welcome and want to have.
You should let Andy know so that he comes back to the meetings.
I know. I don't know what's up with Andy. He might be out of town. I know he was having some family stuff that they were working on, but I'll follow up with him. Great. Okay. And then board members, the only thing I had, last meeting I talked about like doing a HAB article. I didn't get obviously around to that, but I think in this energy efficiency kind of messaging, we could maybe think about, did you know all the great things that HAB does, and then try to encourage more people to join us. Because Regina, I know you have an announcement to share with the group.
Yeah, next month will be my last meeting. And I'll probably get involved with something else, but yeah, I'm ready to move on from HAB, and I'm trying to get Mary on the board so that there is a seat to fill.
So I appreciate it, Regina. Thank you. And I know, you reached out to Aaliyah and I earlier, and I agree you've done a lot, and, you've changed roles in work and, all those things. So I know you'll always be a champion. We'll be asking, I'll be like, Reggie, go speak in front of council for 80 years. Get all your neighbors, all your friends to join you. So no, I appreciate everything you've done, and we welcome you back anytime. Please, pop in and say hello, and thank you for inviting other, Mary, someone that might be interested to join us. So
okay,
good.
Thank you.
And then anyone else, any other board members? Okay. So we'll have a June meeting, and I wondered, do we want to have it in person, or are we allowed to keep doing that virtual like this? Do people have preference? Nancy, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, at this point, it's your choice. I think that there's a very high level general feeling that it's good to do it in person, but I think it's each board and committee is making their own decisions on that.
All right, Aaliyah and Abby, what do you guys, do you like having it at home, or do we want to do every other, or does it?
Yeah, I'm open to whatever, what other people's preference. I'm fine to have it in person. Every other, that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Open to both as well.
Okay. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure with your work schedule if sometimes it's easier to do virtual, but
Yeah, I don't really have a preference there. So
all right.
yeah.
Well, I mean, do we want to gather for the June meeting and then I guess it's public knowledge because we're being recorded, go take Regina out for a glass of water or something? Okay. After, if anyone's available, or we just, at least gather in person and again, appreciate Regina's.
Yeah, I'd be
work on
okay with
HAB.
gathering in person.
Okay, good. Let's do that, and then we'll work on, the rest of the month before that. We can connect, Ellie and I, and with Hannah, and reach out to you guys if we need anything else on the energy efficiency. And then for June, we'll work on more of that, the advertising and the process of getting that out to the community. Does that sound good?
Yeah,
Just stick to that agenda item and then hold off on ADU and any other things for a couple months as you get settled and staffed up. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yep. Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Hope you have a good evening, and
you
we'll
too.
see you around town or for sure in June.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night,
Yeah.
everyone. Thanks, Kelsey. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Bye.